Here's what you missed in the last 12 hours. You had 28 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from AI development drama to electric vehicle breakthroughs to some fascinating psychological insights on why you're always tired. Starting with what might be the biggest AI story of the day, Theo was absolutely fired up about Claude getting significantly worse, and he brought the receipts to prove it. What began as him investigating user complaints turned into a comprehensive takedown of Anthropic's engineering practices. He showed data from Margin Labs demonstrating Claude code performance dropping from 57% to 55% on benchmarks since March. And more damning, Matt Mauer's research showing Opus performing 15% worse in Claude code versus Cursor. The exact same model, just different harnesses. The real smoking gun came from an AMD AI director's analysis of 17,000 thinking blocks, showing Anthropic started hiding model reasoning data in February, which broke the model's ability to access its own thinking history in multi-turn conversations. This caused thinking depth to drop 73%, read-to-edit ratios to plummet from 6.6 to 2, and API requests to increase 80x while actual prompts decreased. Theo's rage was palpable when he explained how the 1M context window routing, supposedly a feature, was actually degrading quality for most users. His solution was straightforward. Set the CLAED code disable 1M context environment variable and consider switching to other harnesses entirely. He called for people to be fucking fired over what he characterized as pure engineering incompetence that's making customers pay $200 a month for worse service. On a related note about the changing development landscape, Stefan Mischuk dropped some hard truths about React becoming irrelevant for junior developers. His argument was compelling. React was only valuable 4 or 5 years ago because companies needed warm bodies to write boilerplate code, but AI now handles all of that. He showed progression charts demonstrating how the code-to-app ratio has shrunk to a tiny wedge in 2026, with AI and advanced frameworks doing most of the heavy lifting. But here's the key insight. While less code is needed, developers still need strong fundamentals to avoid hitting what he calls the 80% wall, where projects break down. Stefan, drawing on 30 years of experience, argued that junior developers should pivot to AI-based development tools where new opportunities exist, rather than chasing React jobs that no longer provide entry-level openings. His message was clear. Follow the historical pattern of going to cutting-edge technologies where demand is high, which today means AI-related development, not traditional framework work. Speaking of new technology launches, Max Tech brought news of Apple's rumored massive May event with 7 new products ready to ship. The standout is the M5 chip family, which Max described as showing the biggest performance jumps since the M1 Max. He was particularly excited about the M5 Max graphics actually outperforming the RTX 5090 laptop in multiple tests, while the upcoming M5 Ultra could approach desktop RTX 5090 performance with a crucial advantage. Up to 512 GB of unified memory, usable as VRAM compared to the 5090's 32 GB limitation. The lineup includes a budget iPad 12 with A18 chip and 8 GB RAM for Apple Intelligence, M5 Mac Mini and Studio, Apple TV 4K with A17 Pro, HomePod Mini 2, M5 iMac, and potentially a new HomePad smart home device running Home OS. The Mac Mini will likely see price increases around $200 due to eliminating 256 GB base storage, but the M5 Pro's 18-core CPU option, matching M5 Max performance, could make it attractive for companies doing LLM work. Everything points to May for hardware and June's WWDC being reserved for software and the new Siri 2. Moving to the broader AI job market reality, Nate Jones outlined a crucial problem that's affecting everyone in tech. Traditional ways of proving professional value are broken when AI makes creation effortless. His argument was sobering. When generation becomes free, it becomes impossible to prove competence through output alone. Against the backdrop of over 60,000 tech job cuts in Q1, including Oracle's 30,000, Jones proposed 5 principles for demonstrating value in the AI era. First, prioritize comprehension over generation, understand what you produce at a fundamental level, not just vibe code your way through projects. Second, create explanations as artifacts that travel with your work, answering what it is, why you chose this approach, what's going to break, and what you learned. Third, focus on transactions over credentials since traditional career signals are becoming stale. Fourth, work in public to be observable because professional development behind closed doors is increasingly risky. Fifth, ship proof of thinking with your work so nobody questions whether you or AI did it. Jones introduced his talent board platform as one solution, but emphasized he doesn't care about gatekeeping and encouraged others to build competing solutions to this widespread worker problem. Shifting to product reviews, Quinn from Snazzy Labs delivered a brutally honest take on the AirPods Max 2. This is his 7th pair due to constant reliability issues. Apple has replaced them for battery failures, microphone problems, and connection issues so frequently he called them, literally the most unreliable Apple product he's ever owned. While the H2 chip brings meaningful improvements to active noise cancellation and slight sound quality gains, none of the fundamental design problems were addressed. The 20-hour battery life remains mediocre. They still develop condensation during workouts that kills the headphones. The mesh headband isn't strong enough to prevent metal bars from sitting on your head, and there's still no power button or decent case. Quinn's most damning point was his comparison testing. The Focal Bathies sound better for the same price, while the Bowers & Wilkins PX7S3 cost $70 less with better sound, comfort, and battery life. He called the B&W criminally underrated and questioned if there's a more well-rounded headphone dollar for dollar on the market. His final verdict: the AirPods Max 2 are not the best in anything, they're just pretty okay at everything. And you'd be better off buying AirPods Pro 3 plus Sennheiser HD 650 for the same $550. On the more entertaining side, Linus Tech Tips set a genuinely impressive world record by building what they claim is the highest gaming PC at 40,000 feet on their private jet. The technical challenge was fascinating, with only 960 watts total aircraft power, including galley equipment. They optimized for efficiency over performance. Their build used a Ryzen 5 9600X, undervolted from 65W to 45W, an RTX 5060 with custom power profiles, and Sonic Focus SGX 650W PSU, targeting around 250 watts total system draw. The plane had no proper 120V outlets except a single kettle outlet in the galley, and FAA regulations limited battery packs to under 100 watt-hours. Despite these constraints, they successfully ran Cyberpunk 2077 with DLSS 4.5 at smooth frame rates, achieving their goal of gaming at altitude while traveling to an Equinix data center tour. The whole project showcased how power efficiency considerations can drive interesting technical decisions, and Linus's genuine excitement about the absurdity made for compelling viewing. Unfortunately, I can't provide details on Tom's Claude design productivity video since the transcript wasn't included in your briefing materials. Similarly, I don't have transcript content for the AI Daily Briefs Claude design use cases video to share those insights. But I can tell you about the AI Daily Briefs other video on how the best companies use AI, which contains some genuinely actionable insights. The key finding from PwC research was that 75% of AI's economic gains are captured by just 20% of companies, and these leaders aren't using AI for efficiency, they're using it for business transformation and growth. The standout case study was Ramp, where 99% of employees use AI daily through their internal Glass system. Glass provides every employee with fully configured AI workspaces from day one, complete with SSO integrations, a marketplace of 350-plus reusable skills, persistent memory, and scheduled automations. The core insight from Ramp's approach is their 3 principles. Don't limit anyone's upside by making complexity invisible rather than simplifying for non-technical users. Turn one person's breakthrough into everyone's baseline through skill sharing, and make the product itself the enablement system. This creates what they call institutional intelligence rather than just individual productivity gains. Companies like Vercel are open-sourcing reference platforms to help others build similar coordination systems, since the biggest AI companies recognize that success requires organized systems around tools, not just deploying them to individuals. Taking a completely different turn, Mitchell Jackson's TED Talk connected NBA fashion to the broader story of Black America across 6 eras from the 1940s to today. His argument was that players used clothing as both reflection of their times and resistance against oppression. Era 1 saw pioneers like Bill Russell dressing for respectability to prove their dignity. Era 2 brought the civil rights movement's influence with planetary afros, dashikis, and Clyde Frazier's flamboyant cape as symbols of freedom. The 1980s-90s brought Jordan's apolitical excess and nouveau rich fur coats during Reagan's boom. Era 4 saw Allen Iverson as hip-hop's poster child until the Malice at the Palace triggered the dress code as a new way to restrict Black men's freedom. Era 5 turned those restrictions into opportunities for experimental styles and fashion show invitations. Era 6, starting in 2018 when Instagram hit 1 billion users, transformed the arena tunnel walk into an unscripted space of expression. Jackson's powerful conclusion connected these patterns to current threats against civil rights, challenging the audience to consider, what are we wearing tomorrow, as a form of resistance? His call was to use fashion choices as political and cultural statements, following the model NBA players established throughout history. Manolo Remedi's reflection on AI dependency struck a thoughtful note when his local AI systems broke overnight. Rather than just complaining, he used the downtime to experiment with commercial tools like Codex and Cloud Code, ultimately reinforcing his belief that the most valuable AI asset isn't any specific model, but what he calls your living archive, the knowledge, protocols, and thinking processes that make your AI work differently from others. His system includes hundreds of articles, memory logs created twice daily for 1-2 hours total, and nearly 100 protocols for different thinking scenarios designed to capture his highest-level clarity. The key insight was rediscovering the importance of having an AI strategist rather than just worker agents, something that helps prevent philosophical drift from your core beliefs. Manolo emphasized that corporate AIs try to remove friction to maximize productivity, but friction provides time to think and add creative input. Zero friction leads to average outputs because you lose creative control. He's building custom software to make this process completely independent of unstable systems, working toward digital sovereignty while leveraging current commercial tools to learn and build alternatives. Adrien Grondin from Locally AI demonstrated impressive on-device AI performance, showing Google's Gemma 4 running at 40 tokens per second on iPhone using Apple's MLX framework. This represents a significant milestone for local AI, with even older iPhones achieving 20 tokens per second. His app works across iPhone, iPad, and Mac, supporting various models from MLX Community on Hugging Face, which hosts for 1,5000 models, with new releases typically quantized within 30 minutes. For developers, the implementation is straightforward using MLX Swift LM, which Adrien claims can get you running local language models in under 10 minutes. The main barrier is currently 13 GB model downloads, though he's optimistic about improving model efficiency and advancing iPhone hardware. The news that Locally AI was acquired by LM Studio suggests growing commercial viability for local AI applications. Adrien recommended staying between 4-bit and 8-bit quantization for mobile deployment, noting that going below 4-bit significantly impacts output quality, while 8-bit works well for smaller models. I don't have transcript details for the AIE Miami Keynote video to share those insights with you. The same applies to Malte Ubble's presentation on the new application layer. No transcript was provided for that content. And I'm missing the transcript for Omar Sanseviero's talk about Google Deepmind's Gemma family as well. But I can tell you about OpenAI's life sciences advances, where they demonstrated their model's ability to design specific wet lab experiments rather than just generating hypotheses. The key development is recently lifted biosafety restrictions that expanded the model's capabilities to include novel hypothesis generation, experiment design, and protocol optimization for drug discovery. In the demo, after identifying TSLP as the highest priority target, the model designed a perturbation assay with specific parameters. What's significant is that this creates what they call a wet lab feedback loop, providing tangible experimental protocols that researchers can implement rather than just theoretical work. This moves AI assistance from conceptual support to practical experimental design that can be directly implemented in laboratory settings. The companion video showed how their specialized life sciences model helps pharmaceutical researchers prioritize drug targets by automatically combining internal company data with external scientific literature. The demo focused on comparing 3 asthma targets, IL-33, TSLP, and IL-1RL1, starting with internal evidence packages containing assay results, biomarker strategies, and target product profiles. The sophisticated feature was spawning 6 specialized subagents to tackle different evidence streams independently: genetics analysis, translational biology, regulatory context, keeping them separate until final synthesis to prevent cross-contamination. The system leverages various scientific databases and can generate visual artifacts like rank and evidence heat maps, GWAS plots, and internal assay panels. This represents a significant step toward AI-powered target prioritization that could accelerate drug discovery by synthesizing vast amounts of scattered evidence into actionable recommendations. Switching to enterprise applications, Durrani demonstrated how to build an intelligent vendor onboarding system using Microsoft's Copilot Studio that can reduce onboarding time by 70%. The architecture combines 5 components: Copilot Studio for user interaction, Power Automate for orchestration, AI Builder for document processing, Dataverse for storage, and email approvals. The system automatically extracts information from 4 document types: ABN forms, bank forms, compliance certificates, and insurance certificates, then applies risk scoring rules. Vendors scoring under 20 points get auto-approved, 2050 points require manager approval, and 5100 points escalate to compliance teams. The conversational interface lets users say things like "start onboarding a vendor," and the agent handles everything from data collection to approval workflows. Durrani emphasized this pattern applies beyond vendor onboarding to employee onboarding, contract management, or any document-heavy process, positioning it as a reusable approach for automating complex business workflows while maintaining full audit trails. Unfortunately, I don't have transcript content for the indie game business video on international networking strategies. Mike from Game From Scratch explored Gaussian splats in Godot, which are fascinating 3D data structures that capture real-world objects through multiple camera angles. While the visual quality can be impressive, Mike was refreshingly honest about the significant limitations. The GDGS plugin requires massive file sizes. He showed examples from 10 MB to 850 MB compared to 1 MB equivalent polygon representations. There's no built-in collision detection, no interaction with scene lighting, and import performance struggles with very large files. The setup requires 3 steps: installing the plugin, adding a Gaussian splat node, and enabling the Gaussian compositor effect. Mike concluded that while this might evolve into something practical for asset creation pipelines, current limitations make it unsuitable for most game development. The technology is more novelty than practical tool at this stage, though tools like Curie Engine make creating your own splats accessible using just a phone. The Ioniq guy was genuinely excited about Hyundai's production Ioniq 3 reveal in Milan, particularly the massive 119-liter front trunk he called the Mega Box, the biggest frunk he's seen for a car this size. The vehicle is specifically designed for Europe as a city car that's actually smaller than the outgoing Kona Electric. 2 battery options provide 344 km range for the 42, 2 kWh version, and an impressive 496 km for the 61 kWh variant. Though he was skeptical about the larger battery's range claims, requiring 5 miles per kWh efficiency. The interior features Hyundai's new Playos Connect system, potentially implementing Apple CarPlay Ultra for full-screen HVAC control, plus a thin, eyebrow display near the windshield instead of traditional driver screens. While not a performance vehicle with 9+second 0-100 times, it offers V2X capabilities, 11 kW AC charging standard with 22 kW optional, and competitive 10-80% charging in 29 minutes. Built in Turkey for Europe to avoid Chinese EV tariffs, pricing will be crucial for success in this intensely competitive small EV segment. The electric Viking was blown away by Tesla's new battery supplier, Sunwoda, revealing LFP batteries that can charge at 1,520 kW peak power, enabling 10-95% charging in just 9 minutes. The technical specs are impressive. 844 volts times 1,800 amps equals a 15C discharge rate, matching BYD's fastest charging performance. But the really wild development is their sodium-ion batteries offering 20,000 cycles at room temperature, which could theoretically provide 150-year battery life with slow AC charging. He emphasized that while these are theoretical maximums, the implications for home energy storage are transformative. Tesla likely won't use the fastest charging versions due to cost. The batteries operate at 844 volts, while Tesla uses 400-volt architecture, but may implement slower variants charging around 2,600 kW to upgrade current base model speeds from 170 kW for stationary storage. The sodium batteries have lower energy density, but the incredible cycle life makes them ideal for applications where weight doesn't matter. Speaking of the Ioniq 3, the electric Viking had his own take from the Milan reveal, focusing particularly on the efficiency achievement of 500 km range from just a 61 kWh battery. He called this one of the most efficient cars I've ever seen, and was impressed by the enormous 119-liter front trunk combined with 322 liters of regular boot space. The car weighs 1,550 kilograms and measures roughly 4.1554170 long, similar to a BYD Dolphin in size. While not fast with 9+second acceleration times and 108 kW power output, it offers practical features like V2X capability, providing 22 kW output to homes. Built in Turkey for European markets to avoid Chinese EV tariffs, it uses Hyundai's new piOS Connect infotainment based on Android Automotive. The 0.263 drag coefficient contributes to the impressive efficiency, though he noted DC charging appears around 200 kW based on the 29-minute 10-80% times. He positioned this as competing directly with the Volkswagen ID.3 Neo's 600 km range, but expects the Hyundai to cost about 10% less. The electric Viking was absolutely stunned by Hyundai Australia's March 2025 numbers, showing EV orders surging 355% from 228 to 1,037 orders, jumping EV share from under 3% to 20% of total orders. What makes this remarkable is Australia's incredibly competitive market, with over 150 mostly Chinese EV models available at low prices due to no tariffs. Despite this intense competition, Hyundai is planning another 70% increase in Q2 versus Q1, essentially predicting another doubling after already doubling in the first quarter. They've secured significant Q2 inventory. 1,265 Kona EVs up 315%, 1,180 Alexios up 57%, 255 Insters up 204%, and 150 Ioniq 5s up 56%. The broader Australian EV market hit a record 14.6% share, with 89% year-over-year delivery growth in March, though this was constrained by widespread stock shortages affecting Tesla, BYD, and others. Used EV inventory collapsed from over 10,000 cars to around 1,000, showing genuine demand surge across the market. Lunjuk reported on concerning censorship at Arch Linux, where administrators deleted the XLibre Wiki page citing Code of Conduct violations, despite XLibre being an open-source X-server project. When users questioned this decision or pointed out that GNOME projects remain despite alleged conduct issues from their developers, Arch began aggressively banning users. The situation escalated when an administrator defined consensus disagreement as harassment, stating they would ban anyone leaving comments that could be seen as harassing staff. Lunjuk detailed a pattern of extreme censorship across Arch's platforms, forums, subreddit, and Discord, including previous incidents involving age verification requirements and political attacks. He claimed community members, including developers and moderators, have made death threats against conservatives, Christians, and Jews with no administrative response. Despite considering Arch technically sound, he predicted political extremism will destroy the project's engineering value. He connected this to Germany paying Arch $500,000 for Rust rewrites, questioning the decision given the community issues. Yang Ye was celebrating major victories for the Stop Killing Games consumer protection campaign. The European Parliament hearing went overwhelmingly well, with every MEP responding positively and even the Commission showing support. Founded by Ross Scott in June 2024, the campaign exceeded the 1 million signature threshold needed for government attention through their European Citizens Initiative. The momentum extends beyond Europe. California introduced the Protect Our Games Act, requiring studios to either update games facing server shutdowns to remain playable independently or provide full refunds. The legislation covers both multiplayer and single-player games that can be removed due to licensing issues. Scott's testimony presented hard data, showing that of 400 server-dependent games examined, 93.5% were completely disabled when support ended, making this practice responsible for more medium destruction than any other factor. Ironically, Pirate Software's public opposition to the campaign went viral and created more support, demonstrating growing unstoppable momentum that has corporate executives worried about this consumer protection movement. GPS demonstrated the future of cloud engineering by deploying a fast API/PostgreSQL application to Azure in 41 minutes using GitHub Copilot CLI with Azure skills. The key insight was how AI agents, which he defined as LLM plus tools plus goal, can leverage expert knowledge through skills and MCPs. When he prompted, "How can I deploy this to Azure?" the agent immediately analyzed the codebase, created all necessary bicep infrastructure files automatically, and deployed everything. The only hiccup was a configuration issue where the application needed Azure OpenAI's specific URL format rather than standard OpenAI, which the agent correctly diagnosed and fixed by updating the bicep template endpoint from /OpenAI/ to OpenAI/v1/. Throughout the demo, he emphasized that beginners can now leverage expert knowledge by asking agents to explain unfamiliar skills and when to use different tools. The broader message was that engineers who know how to leverage AI tools effectively have significant advantages, and he recommended several Microsoft resources for learning about MCPs, agent frameworks, and best practices. Finally, on a personal note, Newell of Knowledge offered fascinating insights into why you feel exhausted all the time. His thesis was that exhaustion comes from controlling too much through rigid self-rules rather than doing too much. These internal I must I should I have to commands act like a CCTV camera that never switches off, creating constant mental tension. The solution involves shifting from seeing these rules as absolutes to preferences instead of I must be productive. Try usually I like to be productive, but I don't have to. He explained 3 origins of self-rules: socialization from gaining acceptance, childhood identity formation, where you became the rules rather than just following them, and identity protection, where breaking rules feels apocalyptic because it threatens your self-image. His SOFT acronym provides a practical framework. Spot the tension and underlying rule, observe by creating distance with there is the thought that I must, frame it as a preference instead of absolute, and test by running gentle experiments to demonstrate the world doesn't end when rules are softened. It's a refreshing psychological perspective that connects exhaustion to mental rigidity rather than just workload. That covers the major developments from your last 12 hours, everything from AI infrastructure drama to EV breakthroughs to some genuinely useful insights about managing your own energy. Quite a mix of technical depth and practical wisdom to dig into.